Top 10 Tips. Mainz. Mainz, the capital of the state of Rhineland-Palatinate, is best known in Germany for the ecstatic celebrations surrounding Shrovetide. But besides the long nights and colorful parades in February, Mainz has a lot to offer its visitors during the rest of the year as well. If you know where to look, you'll find a fascinating mix of culture and history in Mainz. The following 10 tips will show you what not to forget during your visit to the city on the Rhine. The Mainz Cathedral. An obvious must-see and architectural highlight is the city's landmark, Mainz's St. Martin's Cathedral right on the market square. The construction of this impressive church began in 975 AD, however, the cathedral experienced many fires and destructions over the centuries and was rebuilt accordingly many times. The interesting and eventful history of the building is told today in the Cathedral Museum, where a large number of religious art treasures from the late Middle Ages and modern times are also exhibited. The museum is one of the attractions of the cathedral, along with the Romanesque Street Gotthard's Chapel and the late Gothic cloister. Those who wish can also take part in the church services and guided tours. Even as a non-Catholic, a visit to St. Martin's Cathedral is definitely a must when visiting Mainz. The Gutenberg Museum. A little over 550 years ago, Johannes Gutenberg of Mainz changed the entire world with his invention of letterpress printing, becoming a turning point in cultural history. In 1900, opposite Mainz Cathedral, the Gutenberg Museum was founded to commemorate the 500th anniversary of his birth. Today, the museum exhibits written documents from the last 4 millennia of world history, including several editions of the original Gutenberg Bible. The world's oldest printing and typeface museum is not stuck in the past, however, because a museum app for cell phones offers interactive room plans and an audio guide in addition to information. The banks of the Rhine. Popular with visitors and residents alike are the Rhine's riverside promenades. The riverbank is divided into 3 sections: the Adenauer Ufer, which stretches from Mainzer Neustadt to Fichtorplatz, the Stresemann Ufer, which ends at Fort Malakoff, and the Victor Hugo Ufer, which ends at the Sudbrücke South Bridge. Green spaces and paths along the entire riverbank are inviting for picnics and walks, not only in summer. On the other side of the river is the Kasteler Ufer, which is popular especially in summer because of its green spaces and the Rhine beach with its sun lounges directly on the river bank. Not far from here is also the Marauer, a peninsula at the mouth of the Main into the Rhine. On hot summer days, the outdoor swimming pool located here in the middle of the greenery offers visitors refreshment. If you want to see the city from the river, you can also take a boat trip through the center of Mainz and learn a lot about the city at the same time. The Parish Church of St. Stephan. The Catholic parish church of St. Stephan was built in 990 AD on the highest elevation of the city, the Stephansberg, and is today an attraction for tourists from all over the world, because it is the only German church for which the artist Marc Chagall designed the windows. However, in addition to viewing the famous blue windows, it is also worth taking a tour of the cloister in late Gothic style. The Isis and Mater Magna Sanctuary. In 1999, during the construction of the shopping center, Roma Passage, in the city center of Mainz, the remains of the sanctuary of Isis and Mater Magna were discovered by chance and can be visited today, along with other finds, in a small museum in the basement of the Roma Passage. The temple was built in the 1st century AD and existed until the 3rd century AD. The museum gives visitors a unique view of religious cults of the ancient and Roman times and is just the right place for anyone who feels like a little trip back in time. The Mainz Citadel. The Mainz Citadel, built in 1660, is located on the Jakobsberg on the outskirts of the old town of Mainz. Here, history comes alive. It is an unforgettable and depressing experience at the same time to walk along the underground corridor, where the people of Mainz protected themselves from bomb attacks during the Second World War, or to visit the old air raid shelters. If you are in the Citadel, then it is also worth visiting the City History Museum of Mainz, which is completely dedicated to the 2000-year history of the city. Also worth seeing in the immediate vicinity is the Druserstein, a good 20 meters high, originally massive cast iron masonry block of Roman origin on the grounds of the Citadel, which was built in the year 9 BC in Roman Mogontiacum, today's Mainz. The Christ Church. The impressive dome in the center of Mainz, reminiscent of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome or St. Paul's Cathedral in London, belongs to the Protestant Christus Church, which was built at the end of the 19th century and rebuilt from 1952 after being completely destroyed during World War II. The 80-meter-high church in the style of the Italian High Renaissance is by far one of the architectural highlights of the city and should definitely be visited during a stay in Mainz. The Mainz Carnival Museum. Mainz is known throughout the country and even beyond its borders for the celebrations surrounding the Carnival. No wonder, then, that since 2004 there has also been a museum dedicated to its history. On the more than 400 square meters of exhibition space, you can see exhibits such as medals, guard uniforms, jesters' caps, posters and photos from the time since the first Shrove Monday procession in 1837. There is also a large number of video documents to see. The Electoral Palace. Another architectural and historical highlight of the city is the Electoral Palace directly on the banks of the Rhine. The Red Castle, as it is also called, was built in 1478 in the early Baroque style and initially served as the city residence of the Archbishops of Mainz. After the fall of the Electorate in 1806, however, it was then used as barracks, a military hospital, a customs magazine and a customs office. Subsequently, the City Library, Picture Gallery, Museum of Antiquities and the Roman Germanic Central Museum moved into the magnificent building. The Old Town of Mainz. If you are in Mainz, you should take the time to discover the charming old town on a walk. Here you can discover small squares, lovingly restored half-timbered houses and magnificent Baroque churches. Behind many of the stylish facades of the Baroque houses are small cafes, boutiques and wine shops that invite you to enter. During the day, the stores are bustling with activity, and in the evening, Mainzers, just like their visitors, stroll through the winding alleys and stop off at the many cozy wine taverns. Probably the most beautiful mile of the old town is Augustiner Strasse, which was the main street of the town until the 17th century. Today there are many small stores, restaurants and bars here, as well as the Augustinian Church, which was built in 1768 by the Augustinian hermits who lived there at that time and is now used as the church of the seminary. Especially the interior of the church should be seen, because it is full of magnificent Rococo decorations and is probably one of the most magnificent churches in the country. The church's furnishings are so rich because the elector of the time sponsored its construction on a grand scale, as he did not want a peasant church in his residential city. With these 10 tips, you should have enough ideas for your next visit to Mainz. Of course, there is more to a visit to the state capital than just sightseeing. In the evening, go to a restaurant to taste the good local cuisine or drink one of the excellent wines in one of the cozy wine taverns. After all, this is also what has been an inseparable part of Mainz for hundreds of years.